Welcome to the Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano. Airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Wednesday night segment of the Outer Realm. Say it, but pre-record. I know. We always have fun in chat. Remember that. So we are pre-recording this today. So we are not broadcasting live per se, but we are broadcasting on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM from New Orleans. We are fully sponsored by the amazing people over at Folgers Coffee, who just make this possible every single week. So we thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. We love you. Big thank you to Dr. Snick, aka Justin Snicker, for his contribution of his award-winning music, of course, for our intro and outro. You can find any of his music on all popular music streams such as Bandcamp, Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, and other amazing locations. He is everywhere. Tonight, we're really pleased to welcome a guest who's just so versed. Oh my gosh, Dr. Terje Simonsen. And the topics of discussion, of course, will be his new book, which is called A Short History of Nearly, in brackets, Everything Paranormal. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, it's going to have some parapsychology, some occult, some, ancient history, ancient aliens. Like, I'm just hoping we can cover it all in one show. He's just phenomenal. But tonight, please know we are going to be in chat. So you're going to be able to join Amelia and I in chat again this evening. We always have fun, admit it.
We're there right now.
Time. Yes, exactly.
We're literally there right now, as she's telling you.
I know, right?
Hi.
I know we have a couple people in chat because private chat room, guys. I know we don't put this out there. So we have Wayne. Hi, Mary.
Hi, Wayne. No, I meant literally as they're listening. We're in the future right now.
We are. But it's going to be a lot of fun because we are basically, like I say, show nights. These are fun for us because on show night, we actually get to come in and get in the chat room with you guys and interact. And we always have a lot of fun. So we will be in chat tonight, and this will stream on all the 8 platforms. And I keep saying tonight. For you guys, it actually is tonight when you're seeing this. So I apologize. This gets a little bit confusing for us.
Yeah.
But I want to read off before Amelia reads his bio. I want to read off this blurb, which of course we have on the Facebook page. And it's Dr. He discusses his research and philosophy on the paranormal going back to ancient times. He notes that while there is nearly 150 years of scientific research in parapsychology, the field is still marginalized within academia. He also talks about the responses to paranormal within the field of theoretical physics. He focuses on the practical applications of psi and on the personal meaning of psi abilities. To me, that's just like, what?
I know.
It's like, holy crud, this is going to be awesome. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to what he's going to have to say. And I don't know that we're going to get it all covered in one segment. If not, I'm always happy, to have our guests come back. But I think you guys are really going to enjoy this. So, Amelia, if you don't mind going through his bio, and we'll wait for him to come on board.
Yeah, no problem. His bio, you can find the extended version of his bio on our Facebook page, The Outer Realm. And you can read more about him, or you can just stay tuned right now and listen to us. Oh, here from Salem, Oregon. Hi,
Yeah.
I'm Mary.
Yeah.
That threw me off. Hi, Wayne.
Sorry.
That threw me off. Okay, Dr. Terje Simonsen is a Norwegian historian of ideas and nonfiction author, specializing in the esoteric and the occult. And I wrote as well, as Michelle just said earlier tonight, he discusses research and philosophy of the paranormal going back to ancient times. So please welcome our guests to the show. Hopefully you'll be able to, I hope everybody engages and gives us their thoughts and ideas on everything as well.
Yes.
While he's speaking, because he is very interesting, and I don't want to interrupt him. I just want to listen.
I know. I think this will be one of those situations where, I mean, we are really the students, but we are the students in many of our shows because some of the people who come on have interesting perspectives, and sometimes it's their life's work.
Yes.
You know, so there's so much that goes into it. I mean, this book is like 544 pages, I believe. It's massive, and it's so filled and detailed. You know, we just got it, so we weren't able to really peruse it very much, but we were able to get in on it. So you'll find the link to the book right here in the description once this airs, and it will be on our Facebook page as well, so you guys can go dig it up. And I say definitely go in, pick it up. It's going to be well worth the read without a doubt. And I see he's just popping in, and we're just going to let him get settled and bring him on. So if you guys, I mean, like I said, tonight it's kind of difficult. We'll all be in chat. We'll be in chat with you, and feel free to ask any questions, because we can always forward them on as well, you know, and have him come back, which would be a lot of fun. So here he is. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Hi.
Well, you know.
We know.
Yes, I think you know. So.
I know. The world is a crazy place, and we're all just sort of coasting along. But how are things out your neck of the woods?
Well, you know, we have, after two years of pandemic, suddenly we got a crazy dictator in Europe, you know, so what can I say? But you have to try to stay positive and do what you can in your daily life, and be an alternative, be the change you want in the world, as Gandhi said. So
I like that. I like that. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
To
Thanks
the
for having
Outer Realm. Yeah, I know people are going to be really excited about it. So we'll get started, because I just perusing over the book, I'm like, we're never going to get through all this. We may have to have him return. Part one and part two. That's great.
That's beautiful.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It was just so interesting.
I was recently interviewed by Norway's foremost, say, alternative magazine, and they had planned to make one interview, but it ended up being a series of 3 interviews, in fact.
Yeah, we might need you more than 3 times, though.
I know.
Just call me and I'll be there.
Yeah, we may need you more than 3 times. I'm just looking at that book. I'm going, okay, he's going to have to come back a few times.
540
Thank you. Thank you.
It's interesting. Absolutely. Like, oh my gosh, we definitely can't do this in one night. But it's one of those situations where we're going to be the students here, and you're going to be the one who's basically going to do a good chunk of the talking, which we like here on the Outer Realm, because we all want to learn, and we're going to have millions of people listening, and this is definitely a different approach at the paranormal and parapsychology. I personally love to dig way back into ancient history and find the roots of things, but a lot of people don't even know how to start. But what I'd like to know is what set you on this path. Did you have personal experiences as a child? Like, what is it that puts you this deep into this topic?
It was some childhood experiences, and also some trusted family members and friends that told me about special experiences that they had not learned, taught us about in school, you know. And also I was part of a Christian youth club, and, you know, some people spending quite a lot of time in prayer and meditation, you know, and they also told me about special things like healing and telepathy and for instance, a friend of mine, she needed some money to go to the US then, way back, and she had started praying to get $5,000, and suddenly there appeared a check in her post box for exactly $5,000, and that was in fact it was her brother that had sent it to her, but he didn't know that she needed money, or nor did he know, say, the amount she needed. It was for the ticket to plane to US, and he was living in the Philippines at that time and did not communicate at all. And he's a bit reserved person, But suddenly he felt the urge to send her $5,000, which, as I said, exactly was the amount she had prayed for. Yeah.
Wow.
And also my grandfather, he was a machine engineer, a very salt of the earth person, not visiting any New Age fairs or joining any, say, religious community at all. But he, in fact, was able to hear my grandmother coming home about half an hour before it happened. And that was, as a rule, really. So, because, back in the days, there were no mobile phones and no communication like that. And suddenly he could hear her coming up the stairs, opening the entrance door, and appearing in the living room, but she was not there. But about half an hour later, she would appear in just that precise that manner. So, and that, as I had said, happened more as a rule than an as exception. And if my grandmother had started chatting with some friends for a couple of hours and come home later, then this phenomenon would appear later. So he could somehow rely on that phenomenon. So when that happened, he went to the stove, start making dinner, so that would be ready for her when she came back. So.
Wow, that's awesome. No, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, and that's a phenomenon, of course, reported from many places in the world. But it seems, there are sociologists of religion who have studied different paranormal phenomenon, and this phenomenon seems to happen more often in Norway for some reason. And we had a quite a famous professor here. He was a biologist, but also, say, the leader of the Parapsychological Association here in Norway, and he has written a book about that. And in a Norwegian, that phenomenon is called vardøger. His book is called, it's not translated, but just to have mentioned it, it's called Vardøger, the Norwegian National Paranormal Phenomenon. So it's quite a lot of occurrences of that kind here in Norway. So as I said, my grandfather, and also one of the daughters in the house, had the same experience with my grandmother, but the other daughter had not. So it seems to be somehow connected to, say, personal sensitivity, or what we could say, yes.
Wow.
So that kind of phenomenon, and I could go on for hours and hours with repeating that. And also my just to mention, to give you an idea, my cousin and aunt, they had a very close say telepathic connection. So my cousin, for instance, was visiting another town, and my aunt was say having her after dinner nap, and my cousin would experience something quite special in this other town, and then she would call later to my aunt, and when my aunt then had been dreaming, she had dreamt exactly the same thing my cousin was experiencing, with the detailed scenarios and everything. So they had a telepathic hotline, and also with my uncle, her husband, as she, for instance, could be in bed and reading a book, and suddenly my uncle would start speaking in his sleep, like people do sometimes when they are dreaming.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the strange thing she told me was that she was reading a history book, a Swedish historian called Grimberg, 20 volumes, and she was reading about ancient Egypt, and there was some kind of stele, I think it's called, with lots of figures, and there was a text under there, and she was reading that text, and suddenly my uncle started speaking in his sleep, and what he spoke in his sleep were the exact same words that my aunt was reading in the history book.
Oh, that's interesting.
it's very interesting.
Wow.
So
Wow.
she had this hotline with my cousin and also with her husband. And so these kind of experiences from trusted people very close to me. And later also I started, when you start to become aware of these phenomena, you start to somehow observe them more closely and say, if you're not aware of this, the existence of these phenomena, you tend to, just ascribe it to coincidence. Oh, that was strange, and forget about it. But when you start to become more aware of that, you will say, notice when they happen. And also, my idea about that is your subconscious mind will somehow perceive you are interested in, say, getting delivered information about this, and then so it will be a double win-win thing. You will become more aware of them, and your subconscious will deliver it to them, to you more often. So I started also to somehow tune into my own abilities, because these are common abilities we all have more or less, but it's talent and training also. So it's somehow connected to our basic consciousness, what I in my book call the mental internet, because just as our PCs are connected, or telephones or tablets and so, I think all our consciousnesses are connected in a kind of mental internet. So if you think by routine, we tend to think of consciousness as just being inside my head or inside your head or in your co-host's head, and so, but that's not the real, the best description. I think we have to somehow grasp the idea of consciousness being a collective phenomenon which we are all logged onto. And if you see it that way, it's no telepathy is no wonder at all, because I can go to your Facebook page and say, yes, she's there together with that and that, what you call the airport, and she's heading for Kuala Lumpur or wherever. So the information is there really, and it is there for everybody. But as I said, there is talent. Some are born musicians and some are not, and there is training. So even if you are not extremely gifted, say like the great spiritual masters, the Buddha or the Christ or some, you will still have the say possibility to, by meditation and just tuning, to connect closer to this collective consciousness. And that is somehow my message of the book. I of course want to entertain and give stories and science, quite a lot of science and so, but also as a practical application of this, it's how to navigate your life a bit better, and who should you hook up with, which job should you apply for, and that kind of things. So because if you're connecting to this, it's very powerful. You have access to much more information than in your little ego. So and I think also it's an ethical dimension, because then you are somehow connecting to humanity at large and can be of better service.
I agree. I think you can experiment with something like that. I've done it a couple of times where you take a very obscure word, like one you don't hear very often. One with them it's really ridiculous. It was swell. We haven't heard swell since like the 50s, So I put it out there, and I was talking to my daughter. I said, "Isn't this swell?" She goes, "What kind of word is that, swell?" I'm like, "I know, right?" But all of a sudden I start hearing it from other people more in the coming week, and I'm watching a couple of television programs, and there's that word, and I'm like, I haven't heard this word since something I watched back like in the 70s,
from the 1950s,
from an old movie. And I'm thinking,
it's a very American term.
We're out there, and all of a sudden I'm starting to hear it more, and I've done it a couple of times as an experiment, and I find it very fascinating that all of a sudden the word basically starts to show up, whatever your word of choice.
It's not even in the vernacular. It's not even in the Canadian vernacular. It's in the American.
Yes.
Which is funny.
I understand. So that you can experiment with it. But as I said, I'm into my things here. It's an existential dimension to it. Also, you can use it as a system of guidance to maneuver your life better. So, of course, you can produce, say, funny effects that way, as you had a very good example you gave there. But that can be used for much more, say, profound purposes as well.
Absolutely. I'm just throwing something out there for laymen who are just going, that's not a thing. Yeah, just try it. It's a very easy experiment you can try.
So Michelle and I share a brain. We actually share a brain when we're working.
Yeah, we can tap into one another.
You do?
Yeah. Constantly.
That is also very interesting, and just stop me if I'm getting too eager
No,
here.
no, go ahead. You go ahead.
One of the founders of the internet is the French astronomer Jacques Vallée, and he is
Yes.
also an expert on UFOs. And he told
Yes.
me that when they started, say, building the internet, it was basically what is called ARPANET. It was 20 universities connecting their computers to increase their computational abilities, and they started to have a little chat, along the computations, and they found that suddenly one of them was sitting with an idea, and suddenly it popped up from the other participants in this network. So it's when you start to say connect electronically and also working together on projects, you start also to say develop the telepathic communication. So interesting that you two also have experienced that.
We connected that way right from the start. We didn't even have to work at it.
No, it's just,
It was
beautiful.
just one of those things that because we work together. So and we're in the same off the air.
Yeah,
And,
I understand.
Yeah, we work through remote viewing clearings and things like that. But it's interesting because you have that ability to tap into people as well as into the collective as well. I believe because I do it. So, but please continue because we're your students tonight. So,
you're giving me performance anxiety here by saying that.
It's just
you. Jump in every now and then to ease it.
But that phenomenon you described that you had experimented, that was also what I spontaneous experienced quite a lot in high school, because we say you're students, you're hanging, on the corner of the school building and so on, we are chatting informally about the thing, and suddenly it pops up a specific phrase or word in my mind, and 2 seconds after, one of the persons there present says exactly that rather special phrase or word with exactly that wording, so it's not just say a kind of association to the theme in general, but it's a specific as I said, you gave a good example with a very seldom used word. Also, there can be a phrase that is formulated in a quite specific way. So that is also what puzzled me from my own experience. How could I know that he or she was going to say exact those words?
Yes.
And especially together with a good friend of mine, there was a girl I was quite in love with. We never became sweethearts, but there was some kind of.
Oh, I love that. We never became sweethearts.
No.
Aww.
We were smitten. Yes.
I love that.
And afterwards, I had been thinking about her so much, and later I found out that she, at the same time, had been thinking extremely much about me, and we didn't know about each other, So it was kind of
Aww.
Well, she ended up happily married with some other guy, and she is very happy today. So I have to just congratulate her on that.
Well, sometimes those two souls come together. But you see stories where those two souls come together 40 years later.
Yeah, it could happen.
You never know.
You never know.
Right?
No, but then even that early, I experimented a bit about that. I was passing a house where I knew she was a guest, and then I sent her a message telepathically. I told her, now I'm passing here. I will go back, fetch my jacket, and pass by here about 10 minutes ago. If you want to meet me, come out then. And I went home, fetched my jacket. I came back to this house where she was a guest, and she was not there, and I was quite disappointed. Hadn't I sent her a message?
Did it work?
So
Did it not work?
yeah, so I started to walk away, and I had to come about 10 meters away, and then she opened the door and came out.
Wow.
And,
So a delayed message.
Yeah.
Well, maybe she was pondering it.
Well, maybe intention, right?
She could have been pondering it. She's like, when can I get away?
Yeah, like that.
Too, though, how do you know if you're just getting a mere thought or if it's actually is a telepathic
Yeah,
message.
that's a very good. I cannot, of course, give a general formula. You just have to observe your life and see if it's possible to do that kind of things in your life. And also, as I said, these things are very funny as experiments. But I think it's basically have become more serious by becoming older. You know, so now I want people more like the Buddhists to use these phenomena for personal growth and you know. Say chasing existential meaning in life and like that. So the very famous psychologist Carl Gustav Jung, a Swiss psychologist, he had lots of paranormal experiences, and he, as you probably know, used the word synchronicity about these coincidences. And he said that meaningful coincidences tend to happen if you are, say, in a deep personal process, asking for the meaning of your life, or in a crisis even. So I think somehow if the phenomena are helpful for you to guide you during a difficult time, then it's somehow a constructive use of them. It's and you know, somehow it could start out as a coincidence, but if you then use it and include it in, say, in your repertoire and of helpful things that just happen, or you just, you know, you go by a bush and there are some blueberries and you pick those blueberries, and is there deep meaning? I don't know if that, but you can use those blueberries, you know. So as humans, we have to somehow know that we have limited capacity for say knowing everything. And Deepak Chopra, you probably know quite a lot about it. Yes, he said very many things are not possible for say our common say day-to-day level of understanding. It's not you cannot say if that was a deep say coincidence or just what is called by chance, or so you have just to say use your inner compass and navigate, and how can I use the phenomena that say appear in my life, be they normal or paranormal, you know. And as I say, the limit between normal and paranormal is not always clear. So
no, it's true. I completely agree with you on that. Just the question popped into my head because she didn't come out right away, and I'm like, did she realize that she was actually receiving a message, or was there something with the translation or transmission rather, with having a delay, like you know, because telepathy works. I mean, you work on frequency, I imagine, to a degree. So if you're getting jammed up, how many messages kind of just sit in the ether where other people are picking up that may have nothing to do with them?
Exactly. So that is again the metaphor of the internet. You know, it's like surfing the internet. You can go to a friend's Facebook page, and there must be some relevant articles she or he have posted for you, or there must just general thing, or there could even be spam. You know, it could be fake news. It could be everything. So it's therefore I stress the existential aspect of this. As long as you, as a talisman in your life, have the question for what is meaningful for me to use my time on, you know, then somehow you will have what is called you can sieve, isn't it called that? Sieve the phenomena, and what do I need, what do I not need? So instead of kind of objective knowing about this thing, it's more like subjective using, I think, because as I said, we have a limited ability to know things. So I always have this try to use my inner compass in which way is this phenomenon here meaningful to me. Of course, I'm getting thrilled if I get some clear kind of telepathic message or something like that.
Yes. She got it.
Yeah. But this friend I told you about now, I asked her when she came out from that house. I asked, why did you came out exactly now? And she said, well, it just felt right, you know, like that. Yeah. And also another time we were walking side by side, you know, and I suddenly I was thinking of a person with a rather special name. It's a Norwegian name and never used in the US, I think. Leif. I don't know if
Leif Garrett.
Erickson.
Yeah.
Okay.
So suddenly I was starting and we had not spoken about that person, but a cousin of mine was named Leif. So suddenly I started to think about Leif, and his name was in. That is kind of special name, as I said. And 10 seconds later, and I said we had not spoken about that person at all. She suddenly starts to sing. My friend, walking side by side with me, she starts to sing. Leif is Leif,
Right.
Why did he start to sing his name?
See, that'd be kind of wiggy, because you all of a sudden you just come up with something
that would be strange.
Yeah, that's interesting. You just implanting thoughts almost non-intentionally, or intentionally.
But perhaps we were in sync mentally. We're good friends, and even potentially a bit more even. And we were also working together in the same tempo, in the same rhythm. Syncing, and then connecting. So I think it's like that.
Like
it
with
works.
Amelia, she'll do something. I'll say, "Don't do that." She'll go, "How do you know it's going to do that?"
Like a mama bear, bear, and we're close in age, so it's weird. But
it's like in your head. Don't think I don't know.
When I'm viewing,
No, it's fascinating.
Okay,
and she's the only one who can do that. You're the only one who's ever been able to, I don't want to say hitch a ride, but work in sync with me. You know what I mean? That kind of energy work while remote viewing.
I understand.
I never let anyone in, and Michelle goes in so naturally. Like it's
very interesting this. And as you said, it's probably it's a metaphor also used in English. It's a very common metaphor in Norway. They say that people are on the same wavelength.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a metaphor in English as well. Excuse me?
It's very Canadian.
Yes.
We're on the same wavelength.
Yeah. So that you and Michelle apparently are very much on the same wavelength.
Frequency. Yes.
Frequency. Yeah. So persons connect for different reasons. It might be genetics, it might be personal experiences, profound experiences of related kinds. So there's a vast field of But these kind of experiences, led me to the conclusion that there is something going on here. And you asked about the background. Have you showed our audience the book?
Yes, absolutely.
Please do.
Go ahead. Yes.
I will show them the check.
Yes, I've got it in the title here. See, that's a big book, people.
Beautiful.
Look at that.
Yes.
Can you lift it up? What a beautiful cover.
There it is.
What a beautiful cover.
Right. And the golden network there is, of course, the mental internet symbolized.
And then the third eye.
And you have the eye, this clairvoyance, collective consciousness and everything, So
yes. That'll be on our Facebook pages as well.
Thank you.
And it's in the link for the show. And it's going to be, as you see, the title is right here, scrolling across the bottom. So people will be able to see
beautiful.
It.
I don't think there is anyone who would not benefit from reading your book. You really don't have just that one demographic. I think it benefits everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks a lot. Very nice to hear that. But I'm glad because one of the friends that somehow said you have to write a book about this as an experienced psychotherapist, and he said this book will be helpful for so many people because sociologists of religion can tell us that more than half the grown-up population in Western countries, in fact, have these experiences or will have them during their life, at least once during their lifetime. So, and we have so many people, but they do not have, a framework how to understand or interpret it or utilize these phenomena. And so he bought, when the book was ready, he bought it was first in Norwegian, then later English, now in Czech, and I hope to get it out in Spanish also. But he bought 3 copies and placed in the reading room for the young psychologists so that they might learn, So
I hope you put it out in Italian because I think it would do really well in Italy. Italy is very, very much changed in every generation is walking away from the Roman Catholics and more into spirituality. I think you would do really well there.
If you could help me, you should get the agent's fee for that.
Yeah,
I'll
just
get my uncle.
start
He works for the
translating,
government.
Amelia. Yeah.
Let's just
I-
start.
144 pages of translating.
He could just sell it right there in Lake Como. It's
See
just
you
all
next
the
year.
I'm not
Right?
joking. You will get
Yeah.
a agent fee if you do that. for
Oh
me.
no, I would do it just for you. I don't need that, but thank you.
Okay.
I think
thank
you would do really well there. They're moving towards more spirituality than the church. So they've changed a lot.
In fact, I've been communicating with one of the most, say, famous parapsychologists in Italy. His name is Bruno Severi, and he's a biologist at the University of Bologna, and he was very happy about the book. So, and
nice.
yes, so
Yeah.
he's
There we go.
written an introduction in Italian to it on their page, both on
Beautiful.
Facebook.
Excellent.
Yes,
Foot in the
yes.
door
Yeah.
already, Amelia. Is one step
No,
ahead of you.
it's
Thank you.
yeah, it's definitely a good place to be. I
Mhm.
find them
Thank you.
changing so much there.
Yeah,
you know?
thank you. I hope so. And also, if there should be kind of silver lining to the pandemic, could be also that somehow we ask deeper, more profound questions about meaning and life, and also a kind of humility. That's still so much we do not understand or control. So I hope somehow that, as I said, of course, the pandemic is catastrophe, but even from catastrophe, it's possible to gain something. Also, if we take, excuse me.
No, I said it needs to happen because I think humanity I think we've been hindered from exploring that with not just religion, with and we've had a belief system implanted into us, forced into us, and it's become conditional generation after generation. You have the whole, genetic implanting thing, like it just seems to be a natural thing, but we're not taught at any point. We're made to it's almost ridiculed, according to many people who I've interviewed or dealt with over the last couple of decades in my field. When you start talking about all of this psi stuff or paranormal or abilities to be able to do all of this, a young child may see a specter, even if it's a dimensional bleed through.
Yes.
And they're taught like you're being silly, you're ridiculous. So they're taught very early on in some cases that don't even explore it. You make it feel foolish for even exploring other possibilities.
But interesting, that's very true, and as you say, a great hindrance to expanding your horizon. But even so, in say the most what you could say mundane connections, these say abilities are somehow valued but not understood, because then it's called gut feeling, and then it's all right. And if there was written a book, I don't remember the author's name now, but he was into parapsychology, and he had checked with in the US the Fortune 500 company CEOs, the leaders of the biggest companies in the US, and I think he found that at say a majority of those would say that in circumstances being difficult to navigate, they always used intuition and usually go with your gut and the gut feeling and that kind of things. So they are using it, but they are not exactly knowing what they are using. That is
sometimes they don't want to accept that terminology either, because police officers are all highly intuitive in my opinion.
Yes.
But it's constant, as you say. Homicide detectives, they have a great gut instinct. No, you have a great intuition.
Yes.
And I agree with you 1,000% on that one.
But they have no idea what it is.
And my last chapter, the last chapter of
stomach. That's all they say.
Excuse me?
They say pit of my stomach. I've got it in the pit of my stomach. I
know
to follow this lead, and I'm like,
yeah.
Okay, I call that intuition, but that's okay.
Yes, exactly. Or it's the catchphrase: "Go with your gut."
Right.
So,
yes.
Yeah. So in chapter 9 in my book, the last chapter, I discuss quite thoroughly intuition, and I ask, is intuition, say your experienced police officer, is she or he just capitalizing on earlier experiences with lots of suspects and lots of crisis situations, and so of course there's lots of experiences there, and subconsciously is he or she using just that accumulated experience, or is there even a dimension of clairvoyance and telepathy to these, say, gut feelings, or might there be at least that? So I discussed that quite profoundly in chapter 9, and my conclusion is, of course, to put it that way, that there is an extra dimension that cannot just be reduced to accumulated experiences. And I'll take an example, which is from a wonderful book. It's called Extraordinary Knowing by Elizabeth Lloyd Mayer. She was a professor in psychology at Berkeley University, California. And she took an example. Her daughter had a very valuable harp, and that harp was stolen from their car, and it was not possible to dig. She had searched from it, around her local district for 2 or 3 months, I think it was. And then some friend said, "But why don't you contact a dowser?" And I don't know if everybody know what a dowser is, but it's a person intuitively using the pendulum. Yes, using the pendulum.
Or rods. Dowsing rods.
Yes. But this guy was using a pendulum. Yes, his name was McCoy, and he was earlier an American military. I think he was quite high ranked, not a general, but a colonel or something, colonel, lieutenant or something like that. And she contacted him, and it was he was living in Arkansas or Arizona. Arizona it was. So and he said, "Sure, I can help you, or probably help you." And she sent a map over her own town, and sent that map to him, and he dowsed with his pendulum, and then he marked where he thought the harp might be with an X, and he even gave her the street address. And to make a long story short, she went to that address, and there was a kind of what is called partly not demolished, but a bit scruffy, living quarters there. And she, what is on this wall, she put some kind of what is called advertisement, and said, "Have anyone seen like a harp, or please call this number." And so, and then suddenly she got a phone call that yes, one of my neighbors, in fact, brought back home a harp, congruent with your description a couple of months ago. And then she went to the police and said, in fact, she probably because she was a university professor, so she got a search warrant, and they got through this building, the exact street address that the dowser had given them, and the police knocked on, and they checked the flat, and they found the harp.
Well, it's not an easy thing to hide.
No, but
it's like getting a body in and out of a building. You kind of want to do that under the night sky. But that's fantastic that he was able to find it with the pendulum.
California is big, and finding a harp.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Is. And he was in Arizona doing that work, and had no knowledge about local conditions.
No, I'm not saying anything to that. I'm just saying I'm amazed they got it in there without anybody questioning, why is this guy carrying a harp into his place?
Right.
I'm amazed that,
Perhaps he had a black plastic bag, like it could be garbage or whatever. I don't know.
He was probably going to sell it. Yeah.
I know we have people, one elderly man in this area who finds graves, long lost graves, by using dowsing rods, and he can find where the bodies were before they'll excavate. Let's say they did it with an old prison. They were taking the prison down, but the prison had an old cemetery, but nobody knew where it was. So he came in and he pinpointed every body.
And rods are amazing.
Yeah, dowsers are such a phenomenal ability.
As a matter of fact, the Norwegian military used dowsers until the mid 80s, and they used it. Yes, and they educated dowsers in the Norwegian military because we had lots of snow in Norway, and if you have an avalanche, very often people are taken, and what is called they're swallowed by this avalanche of snow, and then often military is called in to help, and then they use these dosing rods.
To
So
find.
they had
That's better than sonar.
yeah, I don't. They have stopped using them now, but I read the
Wow.
interview with they had two military instructors with a quite high degree instructing what is called the privates about these techniques. So it has been, and the normal, say, Norwegian way to use dowsing is for finding water.
Yes.
To
Yes.
dig wells. That is the traditional
That's right.
use of dowsing in Norway. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Lead lines,
running
things
water,
like that.
running
Yes,
water produces
exactly.
electricity.
Exactly. So and that is very useful because if you are far away from the river and you're running a farm, you have to have a good well to make the farm work in a way. So
That's right.
yeah. So that is also called an existential use of these abilities.
No, it's fascinating. It's
Thank you.
fascinating.
Yes. So when lots of these things, interested me, and I had some personal experiences, and friends told them. And then I read an article in Norway's most serious newspaper called Aftenposten, meaning the Evening Post. And there was a guy, a journalist, who was testing psychics, and he was not impressed.
Oh.
No. and he referred them with name and everything, So
Wow.
yes,
Wow.
kind of exposing them. But there was one guy that really blew his mind, and he had called this guy. That's an old traveler. It's not exactly the same as gypsies, but they have the same lifestyle. With camping wagons and not living a special place and so yeah.
Right.
And he called one guy, and this guy said, "Yeah, I can see you plan to go on a journey." And yes, the journalist was in fact playing, but of course. Most people, especially journalists, are on journeys from time to time. So. But this guy went on and said, yes, and I can see you are planning to go visit 2 cities. Yes, he was going to 2 cities, yes. But what I can see that you will end up visiting these 2 cities in the opposite order of what you planned. And that happened also because later they mixed up at the travel agency. So he had to go, I think it was in North Africa, he had to go to Marrakesh before he went to Cairo, or the opposite around. Yeah.
Right.
And then this guy said, and there will be a priest asking to join you on that journey. And sure enough, that priest appeared, asked to join the journalist, and didn't. I think he was going to visit some Christian monastery in Egypt or something like that. So that also it's on. And he ended up saying, "And you will have very good use for the splendid new camera you just have bought."
Right.
Sometimes it just takes the right one.
Yeah. So I said, yes, that's the guy I need to talk to. So I was planning to go to a date, and I called this guy and I said, I want to ask you, I'm going to a date tomorrow, and can you please tell me a bit about how that will work out and so. And he did his thing. I don't know, he uses the tarot and a bit of other rituals, I think. And he said, yes, she likes you quite a lot. It will be very nice and so. And more say general things. And then he said, and I can also tell you, this woman is 1 meter and 64 centimeters tall. That's quite specific. And you are using the metric system with meters, not with feet.
Canada, yes. In Canada, yes. In the US, no.
Because, because when I speak to English people, they don't know what a centimeter is.
It's just I think the United States is the only country that still uses imperial.
Feet, yeah.
Well, UK use the feet and inches still, so.
Do they really?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, no, here it's the metric system.
Okay. Anyway, he said this woman is 1 meter and 64 centimeters, and we went out the next day and became very nice, chatted along, and good contact and everything. And
did you get the tape measure?
So,
would you mind?
I should.
She looks at you and goes,
then she would go, gone. Oh my God, I'm dating a psycho. I'm out of here. So,
no.
Yeah. I'm a bit more subtle than that. You know?
Right.
So just coincidentally, by chance and very casually asked her, by the way, how tall are you? And then she said 1 meter and 64 centimeters.
Wow. It's like,
So
okay,
you know,
put the tape measure away.
Validation.
yeah, and
Yeah.
you know that was really something to me. And
Oh, yeah.
next day I called this guy up again. I said she was in fact 1 meter and 64. How did you know? And he laughed and said, I don't know really, but you know, when you ask me a question, it's and I don't know who used the metaphor first there, but the explanation was that it was like making a search on the internet. You know, you have
Right.
the search word, and then you press go, and then you get lots of information, more or less well sorted, you know, more or less relevant for your search. And such like it was with him as well. You asking him questions, suddenly there would appear all this information, and he had to just sort and what he for some reason felt to be relevant to the questioner. So, and of course it could also probably appear her brother's occupation or her father's height or whatever, you know, or color of hair or so. But what appeared to him was her height, and so he told me, and I found that very fascinating. I told him, and how do you do that? Yeah, I take it from you via your subconscious mind, and I didn't. I was quite fresh to these things then theoretically. So okay, so somehow you read my mind then. Yeah, I can do that. He said, okay, let's try, and said, and I live in an old house here in my little town in Norway, and it's if you see from the front, it's a big white wall, and in the middle of this, at the center of the wall, it's a quite big blue double door. So when you see the house from the front, is the impression is a big white wall with this blue double door. Right. And he was when I spoke to him on the phone, then he was on holiday at the Canary Islands, you know, out in the Atlantic Ocean. So he was not able to somehow just have a look out the window and see how my house looked. So I told him, now I will imagine the front of my house, and you please tell me, what do you see? He became silent for a couple of seconds, and then he said, I can see something white, and I see something blue. Yeah.
That's
colors
very,
come
that's
in
very
as
good.
vibrations
and
and frequencies.
the statistic ability to get those colors, it could be in green or orange or red or brown or black, or you know, and the traditional color on the to just make that point, then the traditional color of doors in my little town is green. Just like when you go to, you know, that tradition. So the old doors here in this little town are typically green. Blue is a very seldom color for doors in my little town. As opposite, if you go to Greece, for instance, there every house is white and blue, white and blue, and white and blue. It's kind of national colors.
Yes.
But here in my little town, it's white and green, white and green, white and green. You know. But he pinpointed the white and the blue, not green. So I was quite impressed. So he, on the centimeter, he have given me the correct height of this woman, and also taken the challenge, you know, right away without having a possibility to go to Google Maps or anything. He's told me the colors of my house. So, you know, that was somehow, I think it's kind of aha moment for me, that I have to go seriously into this. And then I started to study parapsychology also as an academic. You know, I'm a historian of ideas, and my mentor at the University of Oslo, Professor Jan Erik Ebbestad Hansen, he is considered Norway's perhaps foremost expert on mysticism and occultism and esotericism and all that kind of weird stuff, which is also a very important part of the history of philosophy, but it's more the undercurrent of the history of Western history of philosophy. You know, so he is an expert, and I also, by his guidance, I wrote a dissertation about anthroposophy, you know, these esoteric teachings of Austrian occultist and esoterist Rudolf Steiner. So both my own studies within parapsychology, and I also studied esoteric traditions of kind of, like Hermeticism, English Golden Dawn tradition, Gnosticism,
Yes.
Sufi tradition, the Jewish Kabbalah, and all this kind of stuff. But
Yes.
also parallel, I'll also get an academic education, solid academic education in esoteric traditions and anthroposophy. So all this combined was part of my mental framework, and to make again a long story short, I my mother passed away, and I had become very tired because I worked as a nurse for her the last year before she passed away. So I was very tired and did not have a normal job, and I thought, how do I get some money now? And then my friend, this experienced psychotherapist, said, write a book about these phenomena. And somehow I started to collect both my personal experiences, but also my academic background, and lots of anecdotes from famous persons, American presidents, and you will find that many of the chapters are based on anecdotes about famous scientists having made discoveries based on clairvoyance, for instance. Also the military use of clairvoyant spies and all that kind of things. So combining my personal interest with the vast field of scholarly studies done in this, and also I like to somehow to entertain and tell good stories also. So I used to not say there is, of course, some theoretical considerations also in the book, and some kind of rigorous science, but there lots and lots of entertaining anecdotes, because I feel somehow stories is what somehow engage me the most, and my experiences also. If you want to get people really involved, you have to have good stories.
You have to give them a story. It's hard for people, I think, to get their heads around academics on average. It becomes too complicated, especially after a long day. You want to sit down with a book. It's easier to read a story and get drawn in than to try to look at statistics or absolutely.
So you can relate to stories, and most people have an old eccentric aunt that can tell when people in the neighborhood will die or something like that. So
of course.
That's all over Europe, isn't it, though?
Yes.
I didn't hear you. Please repeat. What did you say?
It's all over Europe. Yeah. She said it's all over Europe.
Yeah. Sorry. I lost my earbud. No. Yeah, it's all over Europe. You always have that one in a village, especially in Italy, who's going to tell you everything.
Yes.
What I also find interesting with bearing that in mind, going into that one person in the village, is oral history from the indigenous, going back even to ancestral stuff, because I think it was just more accepted. It's funny, it was way back hundreds or thousands of years ago. It was an accepted thing. People would purposely seek out, oracles, much like people seek out mediums. Today. But they weren't, somewhere along the line, people stopped being open-minded in this day and age, except the indigenous people with their oral history, who continue it on with such, a strong belief and strong intention. So do you find that in your research?
Oh, yes, definitely. One of my chapters is about anthropology, and then I go into anecdotes when anthropologists from our Western culture are visiting indigenous people and meeting with shamans and so. Do you say shaman or shaman?
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah, either.
I was first.
It depends, like potato. I think it depends on tomato. It depends on the individual.
I'm always afraid of offending someone if I say it incorrectly.
Shaman.
I say shaman because I've always said shaman, but I've heard shaman.
We've heard people say shaman as well. Yeah.
Even here, I've heard shaman. Yeah.
Okay. So should we go for shaman in this
Oh,
program?
sure.
At least?
Whatever
Okay.
rocks
Yeah,
your
yeah,
boat.
yeah,
Let's
yeah,
go.
yeah. So I have lots of good anecdotes and stories when anthropologists they are meeting with the shamans and the indigenous people, have very special experiences, and then they come home and they are afraid to tell the the seniors about this, because then they can get fired, because then they're not scientific anymore. They are just into woo woo, and or they have taken the psychedelic of the tribe without knowing it, or whatever.
Yes,
So
put the mushrooms away.
yes, so there's
Yeah.
quite a lot of story, but interesting enough, in the American Anthropological Society, they have that was a tree enthusiast of anthropology that created and get, in fact, what is called you have with all this kind of, when you say create an organization with all the what is called tenets, yes, and organizational things, and so there is a department within the American Anthropological Society which are dealing with these phenomena. So there is some academic or scholarly acceptance for it. But generally, also one of these, I have a fantastic story where a guy is, he's on Jamaica, and he experienced, say, more than 100 people seeing the same things happening, which are not in fact happening. It's so strange, It seems to be some kind of a collective telepathic hallucination going on. It's yeah. So his name was Joseph Long, and he wrote a book about that. And he said there is what is called, because these phenomena create what they call in scholarly circles cognitive dissonance, because it does not fit with the map of reality you have in the Western world, and therefore you have to somehow deny them, or, as I said, you can eventually use a lowly footnote to that this and this was reported, and so. But it's difficult somehow to integrate in our say stock of knowledge, because the say perceptions are so different.
Yes.
But as I said, some of the anthropologists, they go into trance rituals. They take the psychedelics, in orderly form. Ayahuasca, as you know, have become quite popular, and they've started to organize ayahuasca trips down to
very
the
big.
Amazon.
It's very big in Canada.
Yes. And then when enough people got these kind of experiences, then somehow it's possible to talk about them in a more, say, acceptable manner than so.
I think people are waking up to it. They're more receptive, I guess, to the possibilities that these things are out there. And people such as yourself are adding logic to it as well, which makes it easier for some people who are very, they don't want to go there. It's just like, no, that it's like you say, it's that witchy woo woo thing, but you add logic. So like, okay, so this is something that will be looked at, especially for academic people.
You don't need to be mad to have these kind of experiences.
That's right.
So, yeah.
No.
You can be an academic and still do it.
But some people feel that you have to be high.
Well,
I'm not for that. I'm not for that ayahuasca experience. I've said that a million times. I don't approve of it. I don't agree with it. I don't like being out of control and opening a door. That's just who I am.
For yourself,
for myself, not for anyone. Okay. You do whatever you want. But, when you open that big black door that you can't close because you're not coherent, please don't call me. I just have a problem with that because of the field we work in and the energies we work with. It's not something I would want to open the door to.
What you're saying is, and in your opinion, is this something that can open doors? Because I'm trying to think of it from an academic standpoint now. Is this something that can open doors to, let's say, other dimensions, other parts of your mind, to some lower laying energies that are maybe hanging around waiting to infiltrate in your life?
Well, you know,
Strong reports of that.
I used typically I used the say a metaphor. What should I say? The example. If you're starting hanging out with neo-Nazis or Islamic terrorists, you know,
Yeah.
that will influence you in a way because you take up their energy, and you might be, of course, you might be there on a kind of therapeutic mission or something like that. But basically, you should not have too much to do with
Adverse.
negative.
Yeah,
No,
because you're
no,
facing yourself. They're drawing you pretty far
yeah,
in. And there've been a
exactly.
lot of reports. I know I filmed a show, a series actually, where a lot of the people who were talking about nightmares,
Mm.
there was quite a few of them who had done
Mm.
ayahuasca.
Yeah.
And they came back with their experience of just constant nightmares. So
Yes.
what would cause them? Did you just go so far down that you
Mm.
come back and you're just facing things now that you can't get out of your mind?
Or
Like,
For
what
instance.
would your explanation be for that?
Yeah. I say we all have both, say, horror cabinets and our treasure troves within our subconscious mind, and if you open that before you're ready to deal with it, it can haunt you really. So, are these alien energies?
Mhm.
Are they ghosts? Are they our own
Sure.
complexes? You know, might be everything, you know. That is not the point here. The
Yeah.
point is that somehow they are destructive in your life, and therefore you should not
Right.
invite them in. And also even experienced trippers, you know, that was when they started using LSD and that kind of stuff for
Yeah.
therapeutic reasons. They said also you should always have a constructive set and setting. There was
Mhm.
a psychiatrist, Norman Sinberg. He said, set and setting. You should have the constructive mindset and the positive
Mhm.
setting. Good friends, safe
Right.
therapist, you know. So you should not doing this as party dope or anything like that, you know.
Mhm. Mhm.
I have a kind of psychic advisor here in Norway. She is very negative towards this kind of. She feel that you very easily can open for something like a kind of spirit you are not able to get back in the bottle afterwards. But on the other hand, there's a good friend of mine here in my little town. I will not name him because we are a small town here, but
That's okay. We won't hold you to
if
it.
it's a small town, they probably already know who he is.
he is very discreet, so I will still not say
Good,
that.
good.
But he suffered from depression and alcoholism, and he went
Oh,
to the Netherlands, and he went through ayahuasca and mescaline therapy together with a Dutch psychologist, you know, with
Mhm.
yeah.
soft music and lots of, you know, pep talk and good vibes around. And he was more or less cured for both his alcoholism and depression after the 3
I'm
sessions with it.
I have
So,
no problem with that. I have a problem. My I have to be very careful how I say this. My personal opinion, no one else is here. It's not something that I believe anyone should be taking at a party or at a
no,
gathering.
exactly.
I think it's an invitation to something that if it's not demonic and you don't believe in malevolent energies, you will have some residual effect. It's still a drug. So you should be, if you're using it as a therapy, it should be with the right,
Yes, exactly.
yeah,
Set the right
yeah,
set
setting.
and setting.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I agree with you
yeah.
there. I agree with you
Sure.
there.
But I just, if we may go back to the indigenous people just a little, because I also educated within Gestalt therapy, and there was just popped up a little story that's quite good. My instructor in Gestalt therapy, he's a quite famous Dutch doctor, and he was researching cancer for many years and say the effects of psychotherapy on cancer patients. But then he somehow felt his life was turning more or less into just cancer all the time. So he wanted
Right.
to go on with his life. So he took also education as psychotherapist, Gestalt therapist, and also what is called as psychosynthesis. You know, this Italian, what is called, I forgot his name now, but Italian, what is called pupil of Sigmund Freud, who made his own version of psychoanalysis using the esoteric tradition, and that is what they call psychosynthesis. Then, what is it called? Oh, I will remember it later in the program.
Right.
Yes. But this doctor, he was Netherlands. You know, they have some colonies in South America, and there was one colony called Suriname. there. I don't know how it's pronounced in English, but Suriname, SURINAME. Suriname. So yes, and there was a friend of his who had broken a leg, and that it would not grow, it would not heal. So that leg was broken, and they went down to Suriname for some reason. I think it was with the purpose of meeting a shaman there, and that shaman did a ritual, and that leg had not healed for several months. And as I said, my instructor in Gestalt therapy is a medical doctor, so he examined that leg before the ritual with the shaman. And that shaman, he took this patient and placed him in what is called, if you have this hammock, yes, between two trees, about 3 meters above the ground. And he was in that hammock, and he was to lay in that hammock for several days without, he was not allowed to leave. So, excuse me, he had to pee his pants and shit his pants.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. So he must be in that hammock. And what happened below that hammock, that there was a kind of, it was not a nice thing to do, but some of the primordial rituals are quite brutal. So the people loving animals would not like this probably, but they had a black rooster. And they cracked the same leg on the black rooster, just as he had cracked his right leg. They cracked the right leg on the rooster. As I said, not a nice thing to do, but that was what happened. It's
a tradition of the people.
Yes, tradition. And then they somehow, took this what is called when you have this bandage. What is called when you. Take you have a cast and plaster around this leg, So there was he peeing his pants and shitting his pants in the hammock, and 3 meters below was this black rooster with somewhat similar situation. And then all the women of this tribe went to this black rooster, caressing it, talking nice to it, giving it the best food to the rooster, and this guy was alone, no food, no drink, just shitting his pants. 3 meters.
Wow, Jesus. Wow, tough go.
And yes, and the shaman doing his ritual, and I don't know exactly what he did of meditation or so, but the outward aspects of the ritual was this with the black rooster and the women and the caressing this rooster. And after, I think it was close to a week, this guy was taken down from the hammock. And of course, he was exhausted, having not eaten or drinking. And my friend examined him. And as I said, my instructor examined him, and he is a medical doctor. And he said the leg was healed.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, that was after they showered him. Just saying.
Yeah.
So and my instructor said, I'm a medical doctor. I'm not supposed to believe in this stuff, but it happened. I examined him before, and I examined him after. So
how do you believe this happened? As a collective energy, they were healing them together.
Yes, and clearly somehow the rooster was a kind of proxy, substitute for this guy. So they and he somehow, of course, was very aware of what was going on. I don't know why. And other shaman might have other rituals. It somehow. And also probably this shaman, some people have healing abilities, so he was a healer as well, So I'm not an expert on rituals, but so, as you said, it's somehow amplifying a collective energy. The women's intention about healing the rooster, the shaman's intention about healing the patient, getting all to work in the same direction, and woof, there you are.
It makes sense. It's funny how society is so much easier for them to believe that a collective energy can cause harm, but yet they can't believe that a collective energy can heal. It's really sad. It's really sad that way. Yeah.
It is. And that is also some of the message in my book is that here is a great force for good. For people very often they are just interested in two aspects. They're interested in entertainment aspects. Okay, yeah, this is funny, this is strange. Oh yeah, very funny. So and yeah, entertainment. Just having shows. And then it's other thing. It's a horror aspect. Oh, you can get the power, or you can, dance with the devil or whatever in these things. But I don't like that. The great Kabbalistic masters, the Sufi masters, the Christian mystics, the Christ and the Buddha, they all want to heal the world. They heal people. That's how they should use these abilities. So I think you should always have your intention of doing good with them, and then I think that will also protect you from any kind of negative energy in this field. So as long as you somehow focus on your good intention, you have a talisman that will protect you and help you to use these abilities. And so that is part of a message, how to use these things for good in your life and for the benefit of your friends and the world.
Goes back to mind over matter.
Yes, and but as I said, even mind, people are, as I said, they are in the Buddhists call it distractions. Nothing wrong with entertainment. We need entertainment, but as I said, there are more profound things about the paranormal than entertainment and horror.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
See, and to us, it's paranormal, but to that part of the world, it's normal.
No,
yes,
exactly.
And that is also a slogan I have made. You have to have some slogan. As I said, the mental internet is my kind of stock in trade, and I use the slogan: "The paranormal is normal."
That's
absolutely.
True.
For us, it is. For us, it is. Yeah.
But it's very much turned into something that is entertainment. I mean, the good thing about that is it's raised awareness with people who may not be giving it another thought because of television, as misconstrued as that can be, because you get the wow factor more so than the educational factor. But gratefully so, people are taking something out of it and are learning things. But when you go back in time, I mean, paranormal is not a thing. It is just a way of life. Right? So how do you, it's not even just in the West, because I think that the whole paranormal wave started in England again, back in the 80s, late 80s, with all these shows. Where do you think, how do you separate the two, the education from the entertainment?
Well, it's very difficult, and I will not do that. As you said, it can be seeing a good show can be a wake-up call, but then just continue to see good shows. That will not help you further. So I will not. I'm not a preacher, but I have some friends. They are more interested in and looking at shows or going to new age fairs and like that, and instead of really asking the serious question, how can I use this for the benefit of myself, my family, my friends, and the world? So as I said, the existential question,
an individual thing.
And I think somehow, I be honest with you, I suffered from depression and panic attacks and kind of for several years. So it's not been an easy life for me, I would say. My father passed away when I was 4. My brother passed away 4 years later.
Oh my gosh!
My mother became schizophrenic and passed away from cancer. So it's had been quite tough. So I have had to ask existential question: what is the meaning with my life? And I think if you ask those questions, you also get kind of guidance how to deal with the paranormal. If people are not asking existential question, it will just be dabbling with the paranormal as well as with life in general. So therefore I stress the existential aspect. And also, as I said, I quoted Carl Gustav Jung. He said also that these phenomena tend to happen when you are in crisis, and because then you activate the deeper level of the psyche, and then you have the ability to listen to that or not listen to that. So I'm very, how should we use it? Okay, I perhaps I would advise, if people ask me, start with meditation, go for walks in nature now, seek silence, hug a tree, listening in use silence. And also I've used these kind of binaural beats, those kind of
Yes.
My
yes,
favorite.
They're excellent.
okay, yeah, great.
Yeah.
My favorite.
Okay, yeah, that has been very helpful for me. So, but
Mhm.
also transcendental meditation or yoga or Zen Buddhism or mindfulness or any kind of say what is called training of awareness. That
Yes.
will be, yeah. So ask the existential question: where am I going? What do I want with my life? And also training of awareness. If you have that, you will get. You know, I promise you will get guidance also how to deal with the paranormal in a constructive way.
No, I agree. I think if it can raise awareness, sometimes they see something that they may recognize with what's going on with them. I think it is more on an individual basis. People have to take the initiative to find the right way to educate themselves,
Yes,
have an open mind, but don't just
exactly.
believe everything you see, cross-reference literally everything.
Yes, exactly. And then the Buddhists, they are quite quite clever with that, because they say that these phenomena are real, but they can become derailments from the way, you know. So you have to discern is the word I think they use. And a friend of mine, he is a Buddhist, and he always talks about distractions, you know, because
Yes.
what takes you away from your true way of a personal development. So as I said, if you have the right focus, you will also deal with the paranormal in a right and constructive way, I think.
I think focus is the key word because I think life in general is a distraction. You just, anything you see on television, anything, I mean, media, mainstream media has become strictly about, you know, taking you into someplace else, whether it's the news, whether it's a good TV show, whether it's, they're all distractions. There's a
Yes.
belief system that, you know, we're meant to be taken off track because they, you know, they, powers that be, whatever it is, don't want to see the people completely opened up because that could be, I won't say dangerous, but it could make things complicated because then we ask more questions. We want better
Yes.
answers. We're not
Yes.
going to sit there and just say, well, the sky is blue. Well, why? Well, because we said it is. No, but really, why?
Yeah,
You know, we want real
Mm.
answers, dang it.
Yes, yes,
And
yes,
I
yes.
think this is a great fear.
Yes, I think so. And as you say, also from a commercial point of view, you know, if you are not just clicking, as you say, mainstream media news all around the clock, you know, they lose you as a customer
Yeah.
partly, and they want to bad for business, you know. So there
Yeah,
is
of course.
there is some financial interest in keeping people from knowing also.
I agree with you.
I'm
So
not paranoid, but I'm just being very pragmatic. I see that people want to
yeah,
have, they want to hook you on their news because they want to excite your fears. It was the pandemic, now
exactly.
it's Putin. Of course, the pandemic was dangerous, Putin is dangerous, but still,
That's right.
you should not. I just read, you know, I followed British healer Matthew Manning on Facebook, and
Yes.
he made a declaration a couple of months ago. He said, I do not, I refuse to become a part of the collective excited fears. And
Right.
you know, if you are to transmit healing to other people, you can't
Yes.
be scared shit yourself. You know, you
That's
have to
right.
connect to the deeper level of the psyche on the cosmos. You know, and as I said, have this constructive attitude, and that will often mean that you stop clicking news all around the clock.
I agree with
For
you.
instance,
I think everything goes into the collective. You know, negative information or energy goes into the collective as much as positive stuff goes into the collective. And I think if more positive stuff reinforcing
yes.
information went into the collective, I think you would see a whole awakening of people just going, what
Mm,
just happened and where am I?
mm.
And you know, wanting those real answers. I think your book is a good start to that.
Thank
I
you.
think if you all start getting this book and reading it out loud to yourself and putting the thoughts and the words out into the
Yes.
collective, can you freaking imagine?
Look at that beautiful cover too.
I know. I love it. There we go.
That's a
So
beautiful book jacket.
it is. So read it out loud. Read it, put it into the collective, and all of a
and then
sudden,
keep it as a reference.
that's right. Then you're gonna have a bunch of brilliant minds walking around going, "Where did I get this information?"
Yeah. And don't share it. Let people buy their own copies, because when you
Yeah.
share those books, because you can never reference because you don't have it
That's
on
true.
hand. So
That's
you
true.
know, make sure your friends buy their own copies. I
That's
just
right.
want to get in a quick.
Oh,
Thanks a lot for recommending it so warmly. I'm really happy about that.
I can't wait to read it.
Thank you.
So
I will also say that it has received a couple of awards in the US. I think the most it
congratulations.
received what is called a Parapsychological Association Book Award, and that is quite prestigious. Yes,
that is.
This Italian parapsychologist Bruno Severi, he told me he considered it to be the Nobel Prize of
we know the good stuff.
Wow, that's really
us
major.
Italians know the good stuff.
That's actually really impressive. Congratulations.
I'll never forget his name. His last name is Severi.
Yes.
My daughter's name is Severina.
Oh yeah.
So I'll never forget his name.
We have to do a station sponsor ID.
Gotta do the station
We're gonna
ID.
get fired.
No.
Great.
We won't. You're listening to The Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and myself, Amelia Pisano. Tonight's guest is Dr. Simonsen. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Very good.
We are coming to you live right now in the beautiful city of New Orleans on 105.3 FM radio, streaming on YouTube's UFO Paranormal International Public Radio, UFO Gods and Extraterrestrials Radio, as well as all of our Facebook pages, including, of course, Canada's Most Haunted, home of Michelle DeRoche, and our own The Outer Realm. A huge thanks to Justin Snicker, I'm sorry, I went backwards. Dr. Snick, the Sonic Surgeon, also known as Justin Snicker, for our fabulous intro and outro. You can purchase his music on Amazon and Bandcamp. Find Justin on social media at Facebook and Instagram. Biggest and greatest thank you of all to the people at Folgers Coffee. Thank you. You have been there from the beginning with us, and we hope forevermore. Thank you for supporting us and supporting the show. Without you, we couldn't be here, and no one loves you more than Michelle and I. Thank you, Folgers Coffee.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you. And they love us, which is great.
Yes, thank God.
Excellent. Okay. Well, that puts us at roughly the half-hour point before we actually start running out of time. So what do you want to jump on next? You have a half hour.
No, I'll go wherever you want me to go. So.
Oh well, well, you have an advantage since you wrote the book. So.
No, you know what are your listeners? What would they like us to focus on?
Well,
do you think?
I mean, our listeners are vast because there's millions of them. So they love pretty much everything we present. But for those who don't understand, what are the differences between parapsychology and paranormal? Because there is a difference. And some people can't separate the two. They just think
there's a lot of misunderstanding there.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, you know, parapsychology is to just make a formula out of it. It's the rigorous science about the paranormal. So parapsychology, then you follow strict methods, and their methods are even stricter than a normal psychology because they have received so much criticism for being woo-woo from the skeptics, you know. So they are extremely cautious about, say, protocol and procedures and reports and control and avoid cheating and all that kind of things. So it's a rigorous science about the paranormal, and they use different kind of experiments. They have classically they use drawing of cards, you know, and having statistic evaluation if it's possible to say predict which card is being drawn before that is in fact done, and lots of things. They have also done some interesting experiments with brain scanners in modern times, you know. For instance, it's a famous experiment done on Hawaii, a hospital in Hawaii. Then they had 11 healers, and they have different patients in brain scanner, so they could measure brain waves, you know, when the healer were doing their work. And interesting enough, in 9 out of 11 cases, it was a clear difference when the healer were on the task and where he or she was pausing. So you could see her name was Jeanne Artenberg. She was doctor in psychology, and she said you could see the patient's brain lighting up like Christmas trees.
Wow.
So yeah, so there you see intention at a distance in the laboratory, measured with the brain scanner. So that is how you do parapsychology. It is rigorous science about paranormal phenomena. So, but if you go into the paranormal per se, para means it's Latin, means besides. So it is what lies beside the normal, the paranormal. It's just like as I say, an undercurrent or a side current to what is considered normal in our Western society. As we discussed in indigenous cultures, that might differ quite a lot from what we consider to be normal versus paranormal. So the paranormal, otherwise it could be about, as I said, ghosts, it could be about aliens, it could be about telepathy, dowsing, without controls, but just by experience and folk traditions and all that kind of thing. So the paranormal is the vast field, and parapsychology is when you're doing rigorous science with protocol on a specific, part of that field.
So the views, let's say, on ghosts, from a paranormal or a parapsychology standpoint, what is it? Is it a dimensional bleed through? Is it just a residual energy? Like, what is your stance from a parapsychology standpoint on that? Since that's
a very, very good point. I will speak within the 6th of April. I will be on with the most famous ghost hunter in the world, Steve Parsons, and he has made programs with National Geographic and Discovery Channel, and he is a technician from the Royal Air Force, the British military, nice. and he is using electronic equipment. If he comes to a haunted house, he will install his equipment to see what's going on from a purely scientific way, where if the hauntings are they just in the mind of the person experiencing it, or is there something, say, also measurable physically going on in this haunted house? I am not going deep into this work yet, but it seems to be, I think he has detected some kind of deep sound frequencies going on where there are hauntings typically. Yes, as I said, I'm not. I will discuss with Steve later. We have had one program earlier, but I will go deeper into it. Also, there was this. I think he was Canadian, Michael Persinger. He was a psychiatrist. I think he made what is called the God helmet, and that is yes, a helmet you can put on, and there is a electromagnetic radiation.
Yeah, I've got one.
Okay.
Similar, yeah. But it can cause you to have seizures, so we never used it. I've ordered it, but never used it.
Okay. So, but then, and Persinger also had some theories about if you have, say, areas where there often will be ghost manifestation, there could be some geomagnetic field variation that somehow instigated that experience of ghost. That is his theory, that our brain is not isolated. It is somehow, it of course will be influenced by, say, magnetic fields and so, and some, for instance, in indigenous culture, they have power spots, A friend of mine, he has been 2 times to Mexico with a shaman there, Maya shaman, and he was taken deep into the jungle to a power spot, and he had special experiences there. So there might be something specific about special places, probably related to magnetic fields
all
that
over the world,
and that might follow some kind of say fault lines. There may be many reasons for these things. So that is from one parapsychological point. But of course, there might be parallel worlds as well. So we cannot exclude that there's some kind of visitors from this parallel universe. That might be one. Also, which we're going into this, also it can be, we discussed the psyche is a collective phenomenon. So just as you have a kind of driftwood in the ocean,
Yes.
there might be what we could call mental driftwood on the mental internet. For instance, my psychic advisor, she got lots and lots of more customers calling her when it's full moon.
Right.
And so what is that? We know that the moon by kind of gravity influences rising of sea levels. Yes.
Yes,
And it
which
seems
made up of water, right?
yeah, so it seems also it influences the psychic ocean in a way. So
Right.
and we know some of these ghosts, different kind of ghosts. So it's not every ghost can be some kind be treated equally, because there are,
Right.
but some ghosts seems to appear periodically, and that could be perhaps influenced by the moon's influence on our
Sure.
collective psyche. So that's
Sure.
one. Typically with some ghosts is that they are going on repeat. A friend of mine, he's a healer. He was
Residual.
visiting. Yes.
Replay.
Yeah, replay. Yes. I will give you an example, and just stop me if I'm talking too much. He was visiting a haunted hotel north in Norway,
Right.
and he was I don't remember exactly. I think it was room number 315, and he was sleeping there. And about 3 o'clock in the night, he was woken up, and there was a fight going on. He saw two people in a deadly fight on the floor.
Wow.
And hitting and beating and screaming, biting and
Wow.
screaming, and so and it ended with one person killing the other.
Mhm.
Oh,
So
he witnessed that.
he witnessed that, and
it's an
he went
imprint
down.
imprint.
He went down next morning to check out, and the receptionist asked, "Oh, have you had a good night's sleep?" Yes, except for the performance I witnessed about 3 o'clock during the night. Then,
Right.
and then the receptionist said, okay, so you have seen it as well."
Right.
So clearly many guests have reported about that phenomenon. So probably 50 years ago or so, I will not say anything about
Sure.
it,
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
there have happened a murder in this room. And
Right.
by some incidents, it seems to be recorded in the walls in a way. So when a
Yeah.
sensitive person visit this room,
Mhm.
he or she will experience that going on repeat, going on repeat, going on repeat, going on repeat. So the ghosts are not there as persons.
No,
We
it's an
can.
imprint in time. I think
Yes.
we're made up of
Yes.
energy. I always say we're beings of energy having a human experience sort of thing. But
Yes.
I think if you have a dramatic enough energy transfer, or leaving the body, for instance, would leave a huge imprint
Yes.
in that time and space. It
Yes.
would make sense that would replay itself like a recording. Like if you take a voice recorder that's like a tape recorder or a
Yes.
film camera, you
Yes.
can't fudge that. You can capture that moment. I believe
Yes.
it's the same dimensionally speaking.
Exactly. That's how I view it as well.
Okay.
And the person being sensitive, being able to experience that, the person being non-sensitive, not getting any kind of experience of that
Right.
at all. So and my friend, as I said, he's a healer and also quite clairvoyant. He
Right.
obviously is a sensitive person then. So
Right.
so that is one type of ghost. And as a one way of looking at it is, as I said, the traditional spiritualist way of looking at ghost is saying that it's a disincarnate spirit. But what we are talking about now, as you say also, is not, it's an imprint. The spirit is long gone. So
Right.
there is no one there really. But in other cases, it seems to be a kind of individual still acting or doing things.
Yeah, intelligent haunting and residual haunting. Yeah,
A kind of presence.
Right.
So we have to divide between ghosts. It can be, as I said, collective driftwood in the psychic field. It can be disincarnate spirits, I think, and it can be also those imprints we are talking about now. So people often mix up these things, and it's not easy. So you have to be scientific if you're going. In Norway also they have lots of quite good programs when they visit haunted houses and so. And
Yes.
very many of the phenomena are real. And I even saw quite impressively. I saw they visited a kitchen that was haunted, and suddenly it was caught on camera. Lots of forks and knives were fleeing out of a drawer. You know,
Right.
it could fleeing out as a cluster and ending up in the roof. You know, and it was not fake at all. You could see that.
Right.
But does that mean that a former owner of the house is still there? Not necessarily. So it's so important not to rush on conclusion with these. So
No,
the
because
phenomena.
could it be psychokinesis maybe from
Yes, it
people
could.
who come by and
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. So very often, if it's something I have learned dealing with these phenomena, very often the phenomena are real, but people are rushing to conclusion which fits
Right.
the already established, say, horizon of understanding, map of reality. So if you're going to be, say, do some parapsychology within this field, you have to, say, check on your own perceptions, and if your, say, horizons of understanding and map of reality really is congruent with what is going on, and or if there could be other explanations as well. Not necessarily, as I say, skeptical in denying the phenomena, but other ways of framing them.
Well, I agree with you, because I think you become conditioned to a religious belief systems. Like if you are religious, you're going to believe in angels and demons. If you're a ufologist, you're going to believe in extraterrestrials.
Yes.
I think what you see on television guides sets the stage for also a different type of belief system. I think it's easier for people to think that they have a demon in the house, for example, than it is for them to think psychokinesis, that they're very powerful energy that they're projecting.
Exactly.
I don't understand why it's so difficult for someone to understand that. Like, you're powerful beings, you're more in control over your environment, especially when it comes to your energy and your frequency, and you can manipulate all of that.
I totally agree with you, and I come, as I said, from Christian background, and also in my little community, if someone experienced something paranormal, it would either be God or the devil behind it, you know.
Right.
And I felt that to be some kind of unnecessarily limiting perspective on these phenomena. I much more concur with what you say there, and also it's interesting. Also in Germany, in the University of Freiburg, there is a professor. He has just become a pensioner last year, I think, Walter von Lucadou, and he's a doctor in psychology and doctor in physics as well.
Wow.
And he had an office connected with the university, and he had his salary from, you know, the local German state there, and he was helping people with poltergeist, because if you come, and as I said, two doctoral degrees. He had got physics and psychology. So he is an expert in these things, and he view it as we do now, more like a manifestation of psychokinesis, you know.
Right.
And he has been quite a number of times on German television also. And if you, for instance, you go to your insurance company and say, my furniture has been cracked because of poltergeist, what would they tell you? They would tell you, yeah. But so your party got out of control then. They would say.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
But what I find interesting is how this projected energy, like, how it remains behind. Like, if you look, there's a location in England called the Ancient Ram Inn, and it's notorious for a poltergeist that's been there for probably like 800 years.
Okay.
And people can still go there and you see and witness this poltergeist activity. To think that this was something that was self-projected, that remains, what would be your explanation on the individual is long gone? So how does this energy remain in this space, still able to play itself out, like throwing people and throwing things, and what feeds that?
You know, I don't know that specific place and case, so I should be careful about concluding anything, because you know, But in principle, you know, these things can also be kind of self-fulfilling. If people have strong energies and they go there and they project that energies, they somehow feed
Feed
feed those
them,
phenomena
yes.
with there.
Yes.
So they go there with a kind of subconscious intention. No, I am going to experience poltergeist, and they will on
So
a
they're
level.
adding to it, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Got it.
Ju-
So
yes,
they're really, yeah, like
yes.
powering this up with their own
Yes,
energy.
I will give you a very interesting esoteric concept. It's the concept of the egregore. You probably know about
Yes.
that before. Yeah.
Yes.
The group soul, and that is very often why magicians will work in groups, because if you are able to create, say, a group soul, an egregore, you will be able to do much more than by just individual intention. So
Right.
and also people in the Christian communities, the Quakers, for instance, they very often feel, they don't have a preacher like, say, a normal Baptist community or like
Right.
that. Very often they will just sit, and suddenly one will raise and have a kind of message to the others, And very often you will see that this many people at the same time get the same message in a way. So then they probably have been able to create an egregore that working as I say, a group mind. So I think if this phenomena has continued for a long time, it might be a kind of a group mind that is there, that is sustained by ever new visitors going and projecting their energy into the system. That is just off the cuff my explanation. Yeah.
No, I think that's a great explanation. Absolutely. So I'd like to take the next few minutes, because we're slowly getting ready to sign off. And I'd like you to take the next few minutes to tell people what you have coming up, how to find you, promote the book.
Yes.
So please, yes.
Yeah, keep that on the screen.
Yes, there we go. There we go. Perfect. Back it up a little bit. There we go.
That is the check-in version, and
yes.
we have the English version here, and I think it's quite recognizable with this symbol, isn't it?
It is.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it. I love the jacket. It's beautiful.
Thank you. I worked with the designer for several months to reach this one. It was a hard and long process, but we ended up successfully, I think. So
it's very important. It's like the label on a wine bottle. It's very important.
That's right.
Thank you. I think so.
Right. We'll make sure it's out there as well. And of course, it's going to be here forever in the archive. So promote. What do you have coming up? How do people find you?
Yes, my book has a Facebook page. So if they go to the Amazon link that you will provide them, they can find. I have a little Amazon page as well, but they can go on Facebook, and the book will have its Facebook page there. But there's lots of interviews and different kind of things. I'm not so very active communicating with people. I should perhaps be, but at least lots of nice interviews there and so. But what I have coming up, as I said, I'm working to get the book out in Spanish. I hope to be able to do that, and also I'm giving a number of interviews, and
is there a website that people can find you on?
The book's Facebook page is where I somehow do book things.
Okay, so it's scrolling across, so we'll make sure that is also where people can find it, so they can go find you and follow you.
And they might, if they like, they can use that Facebook page to send me questions as well, and I will answer to the best of our ability.
Yeah, perfect.
We'll go to the send message on Facebook then, so I will.
Okay. And we'll put up a link to the book. So, Amelia, go ahead.
just wanted to ask you, how do you pronounce your first name? In
the Norwegian pronunciation, Terje.
Terje.
Yes, yes, that's very good. Very good.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah, very nice.
Wanted to make sure.
Right.
Yeah, very good. It's an old Norwegian name meaning the spear of Thor.
Oh, very nice.
How cool is that?
I like that. It means business, that name.
Ter is Thor,
Yes.
Yeah. And the is an Old Norse word. Originally, it's now we're going into linguistics here, but it's geir, meaning spear. So
I love languages, so I had to ask how to say that correctly. Yeah,
but you were quite impressive, because that's a
well. Thank you.
Yeah.
Coffee, Folgers coffee.
Yeah. No, I have heard lots of varieties of my own name the last couple of years. So yeah.
I do
Put
too.
yourself
As
out there,
simple
it's going to
as
happen.
as simple as mine is, it comes across very, very differently all the time. So
Right.
it's
Yes.
okay.
Right.
I have an Italian middle name, by the way. It's Cerotti. It's from Venice.
You're
Oh, very
kidding.
nice.
My one of my forefathers fled from Venice because they have tried to kill the Doge, the ruler of Venice. So they
Oh,
have to
wow.
flee, and they went on a boat and ended up in Norway. So
Wow.
There
Interesting.
you go. There's a little bit of kinship there for you, Miriam.
Yeah.
So,
From
well,
Venice.
this show is going to be airing tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern our time. And at that point, I'm sure there'll be all kinds of questions, and we're going to be in chat, Amelia and I. So we're going to, at that point, redirect people to your Facebook. We will go seek that out today.
Great,
and
thanks.
the archive will probably be up within a few minutes, and it hits many, like over 200 different sites.
Beautiful,
And
beautiful.
I will send you links to everything,
Thank you.
and you will hear from me anyway after the show. And I like to give our guests their international listenership number so they know how many people are listening. And I will then, at that point, when we're done here, I will message you anyway, because I would love to see if you would come on again. Because
Okay, are we on air now? I can speak freely now. Can I?
no, we're still live.
No, we're still recording.
No,
So-
but it was just to give you compliments. I like very much your style and your vibes and your attitude and your theoretical approach. So I'm
Thank you.
very happy to come back some other time.
Thank you.
Oh,
It'd be our
thank you.
honor and pleasure to have you.
Yes.
Honor and pleasure for me
Yes.
as well. Yes.
Thank you.
Love
For
it.
us, it's
So,
very
yeah.
important. It's a very round table, very relaxed, and that way you find yourself just going into so many different directions. It's not so regimented. We like to be different.
I like that very much, and also,
Thank
as
you.
I said, that you don't have this horror attitude or
No.
entertainment. We are doing series, but still entertaining.
Yes.
So I like that.
We've had
that
too many
vibe.
people say I was nervous, but you
Oh.
made it so relaxing, which is like, that's what it should be.
I'm
I've done-
nervous.
Yeah,
I'm
I
the one who's
know.
nervous because I'm learning from
No.
you.
Yes.
So I'm
yes.
nervous,
Yeah.
but no, never be nervous with us.
I've
Very
done
much for
television
discussion.
and media for over 20 years, and I know how
Aha.
I like to be interviewed. I know how it feels for me, and we never want to be like that. We want our guests to feel completely in control of the information that comes out, and
Beautiful.
you're just like, I was going to say like one of the girls, but
Yeah.
like
But
one of
that's an
One of the
honor. So
team.
I take
One of
that.
the team.
When I was growing up, I liked to see those talk shows with Larry King, and
Yes.
he has also this laid back. Of course, he
Yep.
got
Yes.
the most celebrity guests in the world, but still, he just was very down to earth and was not afraid of asking any questions, and making it so simple. And I saw his advice was you should just trust what you have. If it's people like it, it's good enough. If not, you should find another job. It's
And look
very
at
simple.
how he went. He did really
Yeah.
good.
Yes. So
No.
I like
Legacy.
this easygoing style. It's much better than being pretentious and
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, we're glad.
Thank you.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
So
thank you.
just call me. I'm on anytime you want me.
Oh, you'll hear from me. You'll hear from me once I get off the soundboard, because I now have to post this up to go live tonight. So
Beautiful.
thank you for coming on, and it was such a pleasure. It was so informative. Like I said, we are the students, and we're looking forward to doing it with you again.
Thanks a lot for having
Thank
me.
you. Have a
Okay,
good night.
Thank you. Thank
Namaste.
you.
Namaste.
Good night for you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Oh my goodness, that was fantastic. So everybody, we've come to the end of another amazing segment. As you can see, you guys are going to love this, just saying. But of course, by the time you see it, you will have seen it. So sorry, trying to work out the time thing again. But big thank you to Dr. Simonsen, because he was just awesome. And thank you to Folgers Coffee for sponsoring the show. Thank you to Justin Snicker for the intro, the outro. Please remember to stop by and subscribe to the network's YouTube channels. UFO Paranormal, International Public Radio, UFO Gods, Extraterrestrials. Find us on the Outer Realm on Facebook. Please show us some love, give us a like. And if you want to communicate with us, there's so much. Oh my gosh, I get so many messages on social media, both of us. So please, the only way is the outer realm contact at gmail.com, the outer realm contact at gmail.com. So please tune in tomorrow evening as we welcome again for the very first time Meredith Herrenbeck. And just delightful. You guys are going to love her. She's going to be discussing family soul constellations, paranormal attachments, and so on. So until then, guys, please behave yourselves, and we will see you guys tonight in chat. Good night.